series of recognitions. Following those recognitions, we'll probably let a lot of y'all clear out because you're here for the recognitions and not necessarily for the council meeting. So if you'll stand and join me in the invocation, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this, our city, our residents, the businesses that are here, and employees who make this a very special place to live, work, and play. We ask your blessing on our police, our fire, our EMS, and our staff as they not only protect us and keep us safe, but provide an unparalleled level of service. We ask that you bless our nation, the men and women of our armed forces, and the special forces who give their lives to protect the freedom that we cherish. All these things I ask in the name above all names. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first recognition tonight is the Dulles High School Academic Decathlon team, who are the 6A state champions. I'd like to call Coach Kelsey Halfin to join me down front, assistant coaches Mark Rosenbaum and Louis Valdez of Dulles High School. Welcome. You guys did make it. Good. Good to see you too. Do you guys want to introduce it? You want to introduce it? You want the team?
Okay, good evening. I'm Kelsey Halfin. I'm the coach of Dulles Academic Decathlon.
I surprised her. She didn't know she was going to do this.
I'm super excited to be here tonight. We're so thankful to the City of Sugar Land for recognizing us every year when we do this. It's a lot of hard work that gets us to this point, and some amazing kids that have been working all year long. We won the Texas State Academic Decathlon with the highest team score in Texas history, so that's the best academic.
Why don't you all stand, the members of the team?
That is the best academic decathlon team in history. All right, last month they went to Minneapolis and represented the state of Texas at the United States Academic Decathlon. We finished second in our division and third overall. You guys want to come up?
Yeah.
Do you want me to
Introduce them both.
Come on up, guys.
Sophie Yangi. I probably pronounced that wrong. Perfect score in art. Robert Yang, perfect interview score. Lana Hefar. Simon Sanchez Pava, first overall scholastic in Texas, perfect score in art. Olivia Jackson, third overall scholastic in Texas, perfect score in speech. Ethan Solenberger, perfect score in math. Logan House, first overall varsity in Texas. Davis Varghese, second overall varsity in Texas, perfect score in speech and interview. Ali Abi Nassif and Logan House. And I want to also recognize we may have Principal Dr. Jennifer Nichols. I don't know if she was able to attend. Okay, she got rained out. And we have a proclamation to honor you all. Congratulations. From the Office of the Mayor, Dulles High School Academic Decathlon Team, 6A state champions. Whereas the Dulles High School Academic Decathlon Team was named 6A state champions in the large school category in March of 2019, which marks the third consecutive year they have won the 6A title, and the first overall title since 1987. They qualified Dulles to represent the state of Texas at the U.S. Academic Decathlon Nationals in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And whereas the team is now the best in Texas history, smashing the state record with a team score of 53,202.2, it is also the 14th highest team score in U.S. academic decathlon history. And whereas the decathlon team also tied for first place team super quiz and scored seven perfect 1,000s, also taking home several medals in the individual events. And Coach Andrew Hartman was named the 2019 Coach of the Year. And whereas Dulles High School is still the only Fort Bend ISD team ever to win a Texas Academic Decathlon state champion. And this is given under my hand as the mayor of Sugar Land. Congratulations to you all. You make us really proud. Is there anything that any of you would like to say? The floor is yours. We've got a microphone. Well, thank you all. And we're going to get, Council, if I could get you to come down, let's get a picture here, if we can kind of get everybody together. We're big on pictures. I think that's yours. Yes, ma'am. Congratulations. While they're going out, I can tell you I was never in an academic decathlon, I can promise you. So my hat's off to them. My goodness. And now another recognition tonight that makes us particularly proud. This is the class I'm getting ready to introduce to you is the 2018-2019 Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. By any measure, this was an extraordinary class. Kayla Northcutt, who was the one that led this class, got very attached to him. Kayla, where are you? You're around here. There you are. Got very attached to him, and several times she said the participation level at which these young men and women participated was nothing short of pretty extraordinary. So I'm going to call up Kayla Northcutt, our Community Engagement Manager. Kayla, could you please come up? This was the 14th class and included a total of 29 Sugar Land High School students representing 11 area high schools. And what's important about that is we try to get representation from all the high schools around Sugar Land. That includes not only Fort Bend ISD, but Lamar Consolidated. And Kayla and her staff worked very hard to do that, and this was a particularly fine representation of those students. Let me introduce the class president, Amay Bhatnagar, and service officer Sydney Bynes, and ask them to come down front. Kayla. Yes.
First off, I would like to thank Mayor Zimmerman for his continuing support of youth engagement in our local government. Without his support, we wouldn't have this program at all. And of course, thank you for leading our great city into the future and beyond. I would like to thank Ms. Northcutt and the rest of the MIAC staff for their continual support of our program. They've worked so hard with not only Sydney and I, but as well with the other MIAC members. And again, without their support, we wouldn't really have the MIAC program that we have today. Sugar Land is sort of seen as the city of the future. Not only do we have so many businesses that are coming down here because they see the potential in Sugar Land, but we also sit in one of the most diverse counties in our nation. And these are all factors that really make us unique and sort of separate us from the rest of the cities and towns that we see across the United States. But if there is one thing that truly separates us from the rest of the competition per se, it's our civilian participation in our local government. And that is what MIAC is helping to support. It's that civilian participation and passion in our local government. Not only are me, Sydney, and the rest of the MIAC members walking away with a plethora of information about our local government, but we're also walking away with a new light, a new passion, and a new understanding of the city that we love so much. So on the behalf of all the MIAC members, we would like to thank you all as well for the continuing support of this program, and hopefully we get to serve this great city one day as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sydney Bynes, and I was your 2018-2019 service chair. And first of all, just congratulations, guys. We did so amazing this year. I calculated all the hours that we have accomplished throughout the year, and it was 384 hours. So that's a lot of hours, guys. So good job to y'all. I just want to say thank you to Mayor Zimmerman and Miss Kayla. We did a lot this year, and we learned so much about Sugar Land and how everything operates. And as a service chair, we did volunteering, we had a service day, and it was lots of fun. And I just hope that as like a city and as community members that we all take out of our time to go volunteer and actually go help our city and just have fun and maybe make a change in the world. Thank you.
Thanks. If I could get the class to please stand and come down the front. Roman, get them organized. Got to get a picture. Council, could we? While we're waiting on them to get into position, I'd also like the staff of the City of Sugar Land, the directors that were part of the program, if you all could please stand and be recognized. Come on, don't be shy. Let's. Come on. Stacy, you can't. Robert, yeah. Can't be the only one. There we go. Got everybody? I'm in the back with you.
Everyone looking up here, please. 1, 2, 3. Couple more. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you all. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your next boards and commissions member and future city council and mayor. Thank you. Kind of wait a minute and let everybody kind of Yes, ma'am. Oh, it's a pleasure. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Our next recognition is for Bike Month, and I'd like to ask Monique Johnson, our Active Transportation member, to come down, please. Active Transportation Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to have Shape Up Fort Bend and some of the Parks Department come up and join me, please.
Tell us a little bit about it, Monique.
So every year, the city partners with Shape Up Fort Bend to do Bike to Work and School Day. This year is our 9th annual event, and this Friday, hopefully, weather permitting, we'll have our Bike to Work and School event this Friday morning, and that'll be from Memorial Park and then to Fort Settlement Middle School and then to City Hall, where we'll conclude the event. I'd like to invite Mac, forgive me. He is with Shape Up Fort Bend, and he'd like to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Monique. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mac Blankenship, and I am with Shape Up Fort Bend. And we would just like to say thank you to the Mayor, City Council for their continued support of safer streets in Sugar Land, Texas, and also thank them for their advocacy for safe cycling. And we would like to invite you and all the other people that just left out this Friday to
Steps to City Hall.
We'd like to invite you out Friday morning at 7:30 a.m. to Bike to Work, Bike to School Day. We will be held at Memorial Park on University. And we'd also like to say thank you for your continued support for May is Bike Month. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. We've been doing this for quite a while, and meeting the same faces. Y'all are the ones, the real troopers that keep riding into. I let y'all do all the work. I just show up on the steps of City Hall and do a proclamation. That's pretty easy. This is for Bike Month, May 2019, whereas since 1956, May has been recognized as National Bike Month and was established to encourage people to ride for fun, exercise, and transportation, and to promote safe bicycling. The City of Sugar Land and Shape Up Fort Bend will celebrate National Bike Month on Friday, May 10th, with the annual Bike to Work Day and Bike to School Day. And whereas all participants will ride 1.1 miles to Fort Settlement Middle School via University Boulevard, then continue another 6.4 miles to Town Square via Commonwealth, Austin Parkway, and Lexington Boulevard. And whereas Bike to Work School Day events raise awareness of the need to create safer routes for bicycling and walking, promote awareness of cycling, and remind motorists, pedestrians, and cyclists to be safe and to share the roads, trails, and sidewalks. And whereas the City of Sugar Land and Shape Up Fort Bend are joining the efforts of the League of American Bicyclists in Bike Texas by holding the Bike to Work School Day on Friday, May 10th, 2019, signed under my hand as Mayor of Sugar Land City Council. Congratulations, and I hope the weather clears up so we can do this thing on Friday. Council, if you guys could stand up, if we could get everybody to kind of come together. I'll keep this because we're going to do the same proclamation on the steps of City Hall. Come on. Good.
All right, everyone. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank y'all. Be safe going home tonight.
Thank you. I represent the League of American Bicyclists.
Oh, yes, sir.
I just moved here to Sugar Land 6
Oh, well, welcome to Sugar Land.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything.
Yes, sir. In our final recognition, I'd like to invite Chief Eric Robbins. This is National Police Week. Chief, would you like to give us an overview?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. How are you doing? Good evening.
Good evening.
Just a little bit of background. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy designated May 15th as National Police Officers Day. And the entire week of May the 15th has been recognized as National Police Officers Week. And in that week, police officers around the country pay tribute to all the officers who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. In the history of Sugar Land, we've had one officer who has paid the ultimate sacrifice, and that's Officer Ron Slockett back in 1987. And so during this time, we want to make sure that the brave efforts of Officer Slockett and all the officers around the country are still remembered and their brave acts doesn't go forgotten. And so we just want to say thank you for all of your support and all the support of council. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you all have never been to our police station, we have a plaque where we recognize the fallen officers. It's DPS, Sheriff, Sugar Land, and I think some of the surrounding areas. Of course, we all see the articles nowadays. There's not a day that goes by that an officer is not killed in the line of duty. And more often than not, it's for really trivial kinds of things. So we respect and we appreciate the job that the men and women of our police officers do, and we bring honor to them in this special week. A proclamation, Chief, for National Police Week, May 12th through the 18th. Whereas the Congress and the President of the United States have designated May 12th through 18th as National Police Week, and whereas the members of the Sugar Land Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedom of the citizens of Sugar Land, and where it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of the brave men and women of their police department, and that members of the police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting people against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception, oppression, or intimidation. And whereas the Sugar Land Police Department has grown to be a modern and scientific law enforcement agency, which increasingly provides a vital public service, given into my hand as the mayor of the city of Sugar Land. Chief, thank you, sir. Mr. Council, you're going to be pictured out.
All right, everyone. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. 8.
Proud of you, Chief. Thank you. Before we move on to the regular agenda, I'd like to make a special recognition of several of our council members. First, we have Councilmember Bridget Young, who is my mayor pro tem and is term limited. And she'll continue to serve until we can figure out the runoff election that's going to be conducted in June. But Bridget, I just wanted to say thank you for 8 years of phenomenal service to the city of Sugar Land. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you. Our other council member that is in District 3, Amy Mitchell, could not be here with us tonight, but she too has served 8 years, and we thank her for her service. And actually both these ladies will have a reception to celebrate their service with the city of Sugar Land. Two other people I'd like to mention. We have District 1 Councilmember Steve Porter has been reelected to his final term. Steve, it's a pleasure to welcome him back, as is our District 4 Councilmember Carol McCutcheon, who will serve her second term, begin her second term. So welcome back to both of you. We're going to move on to the public comment period. And this is for anybody that would like to speak on an agenda item that is not a public hearing. You're invited to come down and speak. Anyone? Move on, review of consent agenda, item number 2. Item number 3, consent agenda. We do have, we'll take these all at one motion unless a council member has pulled one. We have, Councilmember Lane has requested that we pull 3A. So if, okay. We've got a motion by Councilmember Gandhi, second by, was it Young? Councilmember Young. And if we could vote at this time, please. And it's a 6-0 vote. Thank you. And now we'll go ahead and 6A, second consideration. Consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land Ordinance number 2156. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, amending the Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 3, Article 10, Section 3177, city-owned waterways, swimming, boating, etc., prohibited, and amending Chapter 5 to add new Section 5.8 to allow for the use of non-motorized boats in designated city-owned and/or city-controlled waterways. We have with us tonight Kimberly Terrell, our Assistant Director of Parks and Rec. Kimberly.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm happy to answer any additional questions that Mayor and Council may have on this item.
Jennifer.
Okay, so the lake at Cullinan Park, we're going to allow kayaks to be ridden out in this lake. And the on-ramp, or there's no on-ramp, but where you put your kayak in is close to where the picnic tables are. There's vegetation there, and there's also a boardwalk that you kind of have to go under, right, to get in there. Now, I've been out there a couple of times, and I've seen alligators, and I know there's water moccasins, and there's vegetation, and my concern is just knowing kids, if they're not wearing life jackets and they goof around on their kayaks, if they fall over, they get entangled in the vegetation. I'm just concerned about the level of safety with the wildlife at this lake.
Okay. So as the Parks Department, we have a duty to let people know of any concerns, laws, or rules in any of these activities. For example, we have signage at the dog park, at the skate park, at the bike park. So if there's anything that we need to let folks know about to consider before they go take on that activity, we do so. So before we open this to the public and announce it's open to the public, we will, one, make sure the waterway is clear, and we've cleared portion of it at Cullinan Park already, and we will continue to keep that clear. In addition, we'll put signage that's consistent with our canoe launch signage that we had at the Brazos River canoe launch, which it states the laws of the state, which are that flotation devices are required for watercraft. Depending on the length of the watercraft, you may need one of the ones that you can throw. All of those laws will be stated. In addition, it states to keep clear of wildlife, that you should have a float plan, that you should travel with additional people. It's quite a large sign. There's several things that we alert people to before they partake in that activity. And it's also state law that children have to be physically wearing flotation devices. So they would need to be wearing flotation devices to partake in that activity. There are already alligator signs there. As you know, we have alligators at most of our waterways in this area, and we have signage indicating such.
A couple of other steps that you might take, Kimberly. Reach out to Texas Parks and Wildlife, and why don't you, they'll be happy to come out and work with you guys. If they think there's anything special that needs to be done, reach out to the local game warden, and he'll be happy to come out too and give us, some tips on what he or she sees too.
I guess to Councilmember Lane's point,
are you suggesting that there should be a prohibition on this item?
I'm worried about the supervision of any children going out there, and I'm just, I know the scouts are very responsible and you're professional campers and so forth, But when it comes to just our teenagers going out there, and I can just envision, hey, we're going out with a group of friends and we're going to go kayaking, and if there's a lack of supervision and they're not really following the rules, that I'm just worried about the wildlife and the alligators out there, and just any liability towards the city if anything happens to any children, unsupervised children out there kayaking.
Bridget.
So is it possible, Kimberly, in this area, and I know what she's talking about because I've been out there, is it possible that we could put an age limit, like people above a certain age can kayak, and versus people below a certain age cannot kayak unless supervised by adults?
We haven't considered that. One of the things is to actually get a kayak out there, you will need some sort of vehicle and an adult or older person to actually even help you get a kayak out there. So I think that it's unlikely that, a small child would be able to go out there and kayak without somebody older or an adult knowing. It's not our intention to put a prohibition on age, but we can certainly look at that when we develop the rules sign.
I think what Councilwoman Lane is talking about is you might have some 16-year-olds who can drive, and bring some younger kids with them, and it can be a serious situation out there. So I do share those concerns.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Al.
If I could add one thing. I believe the recent Parks Master Plan talks about the importance of introducing elements where there is the ability to be able to use waterways for recreational activities, similar to what is planned at Cullinan Park and other locations. I don't know how to protect people from snakes and alligators because they are everywhere. So it depends on what it is that we're trying to protect people from. You have just as much chance having an encounter with wildlife at Oyster Creek Park as you do anywhere in town. So I agree that it's something that we need to pay close attention to and continue to have some dialogue about. Would this be something that you would like to perhaps ask the Parks Board to work on with staff and make a recommendation to City Council, for example?
Mayor, that was something I was going to ask about, whether or not, number one, if this was vetted through the Parks Board. It sounded like it hadn't, but yes. If there is an opportunity to take it back to them, I think it would be a good item to at least get their thoughts on that. I mean, you can always put up more signs. I know in Sugar Lakes at one time they thought there was an alligator in the lake, and they put kind of a cartoon sign which got some attention, so you kind of saw that there was alligators there, and I think people stayed away from it. So I think it would be a good recommendation, if we have time to do that, let the Parks Board comment on it and see how they feel about it.
Mr. Mayor, if staff may be able to help with that, because they may have already been involved in it.
We have workshopped this with the Parks Board, but we can certainly work with the Parks Board on making sure we have sufficient signage that works, talks about age requirements and things like that. We can continue to workshop that through them and make sure that we have adequate signage there on site. And if you'd like us to workshop, further with the council before we actually make it available, we'd be happy to do that as well. But we think there's a need and a want in the community to get out and use the waterways. That's what we heard through our master planning efforts. We heard that from the Cullinan Park Conservancy. Would like to see it happen there in the park. So we believe it's an opportunity that we can provide to the residents of the city, and we think we can do it safely and make this another great attraction to the city and the park system.
That would be good. I just, my comfort level with passing this through without just maybe one more run of talking about the safety of it that would just make me feel better working, going through one more pass on it, because just a mother of 3 boys, and I know, how they goof around and at these parks and on the water and things like that. I don't know if I would allow a group of 16 to 18-year-olds to go out on their own on the water if it wasn't like clearly posted and clearly communicated. You have to be a certain age, you have to have your life jackets on for them to understand what they're getting into, that there's alligators and things like that out there. So and then I would feel more comfortable voting on it.
So are you?
I'd like to suggest that based on this conversation, that we ask the staff to take it back to the Parks Board and have one more conversation on this topic, and ask the Parks Board and staff to come back and review in a workshop the actions that they are taking to educate and inform before we bring it back for second reading. Okay. If that'd be okay?
That's a motion to table, isn't it, Mary? Yes, sir. Okay, I'll make the motion to table. Second. If you vote at this time, please. And Steve, we got you out.
Well, it appears, Mayor, that we're voting on the second consideration as it was originally presented.
Yes.
We will fix it at the minutes, Councilman.
Yeah, we are, so that everybody's clear, we're voting on Section 3A, which was the second consideration. And right now, the motion on the floor is a motion to table. It's been seconded by Young. I made the motion. If you just do a hand vote, right hand. And it's a 6-0 vote. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Kimberly. Item number 4, donations. 4A, consideration of an action on authorizing acceptance of monetary donations in the amount of $19,635.25 for City of Sugar Land Animal Services. We have our own Catherine Ketchum, Animal Services Manager. Catherine.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So I am here tonight. Throughout the year, we are so fortunate and have so many very generous animal lovers in our community that we receive lots of donations from non-residents, businesses, residents themselves. Per our donation policy, any donation that is over $250 must be formally recognized before council. So this evening I'm bringing to you 18 donations in the amount of $19,635.25 that have been received since the last acceptance of animal services donations by City Council. I'm going to kind of lump these because I have so many of them. I don't want to take up everybody's time. Petsmart Charities, we are a Petsmart adoption partner. So through that partnership, we do qualify for each adoption through the store to receive a stipend, and that comes quarterly as a check. And for the quarter that we've been in, that's $10,000 worth of donations. We have a lot of wonderful people that have come to the shelter and have adopted animals, and they annually give a donation to the shelter in honor of their adoptions and the pets that they've given forever homes for. And I'm going to read through all of these just really quick. I'd like to recognize them, but again, I don't want to read through all of the names. So just know that we have a lot of very generous donors, some of which are volunteers to the shelter, some of them serve on our advisory board, some of them are businesses and people that work for those businesses that in lieu of taking like a Christmas bonus, ask them to make a donation in their name to the shelter, and a lot of in-memory donations as well. However, I do want to recognize a few of these donors this evening that are here with us. As many of you know, we have a wonderful partnership with Raising Cane's. Every Christmas time, they put out the cutest little puppies, sometimes more than one, depending on what the theme is. And we are so fortunate that they have chosen to work with our shelter in promoting those. The proceeds from those sales every year go to the shelter itself, and this year they raised $668.25 for the shelter. And I do have the general manager, Dean, who's here this evening. Dean, if you'd come up and say hi. So I'm just going to have Dean hang out here with me, and I'm going to call everybody up at once, okay? Because I have some more. And then the next one I want to recognize this evening is John and Sue Weggy. So they have been longtime supporters of the shelter. Sue is actually on our advisory board. Her and John live over in Edgewater, and they look out for all the wildlife over there. So they're always calling, giving me an update as to what is going on, when the birds arrive to do their nesting, when the birds leave, thankfully, to finish their nesting and move out. This year we've had an issue with vultures, so that's been challenging. Yay! But she is a wonderful animal lover. They both are huge supporters of the shelter. And again, I'd like to recognize Sue and John. Come on up! Join the party at the podium. Woohoo! Okay. And then this next one is really special. And it amazes me. Look at them. They're young little compassionate faces over there. So this is a group from Cornerstone Elementary, and they are part of a group called Destination Imagination, and they participated in a project called Do It for Dogs, and it was a team of 6 third graders, and they basically made homemade dog toys, blankets, animal art, and they collected donations for the shelter, and they raised $317 for the animals. And what I love about it is they had this cute little, instead of a pop-up store, they had a paw-up store where they sold their goods and collected the money for the shelter. So I'd like for them to come up. It's Emma Lynn. Did I say that right? Come on up. Callie, Lena, Alex, and Joshua. And there they are. Pretty amazing. So can you guys, is it okay, Mayor, if they come around front and I present them with a little something? Okay, so everybody move around front. Everybody. You too, Dean. Let's go. Everybody. Okay. So this is for you and your group, Dean. Candy. Everybody wants candy, right? Okay. So I'm going to take yours out and I'm going to put it back in. You can't open them now because we'll get stuff all over the floor and we'll get in trouble, so just hold on. You can guess what's on there. You can see some of it. So again, just want to really thank you all so much for your compassion and your dedication to the animals and your continued support. So thank you very, very much. Okay, you're free and clear. Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you, Catherine.
So, Environmental and Neighborhood Services Department recommends that City Council accept these animal services donations in the amount of $19,635.25.
Do I have a
questions
motion?
for me?
Question. Got a motion by Porter, second by Gandhi. Any questions? You vote at this time, please. And it's a 6-0 vote. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for helping us. You know, what sets us apart is the fact that we've got great citizens, we've got people in business, we've got young people, old people, we've got everybody that volunteers to make our city what it is. Item number 5, contracts and agreements. 5A, consideration of an action authorizing the execution of an engagement letter with Whitley Penn LLP in the amount of $128,000 for the fiscal year 2019 audit. We have Ms. Jennifer Brown, our Director of Finance. Jennifer.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, it's not nearly as exciting as animals, but just as important. Every year we do a contract with our independent audit firm, and over the last few years we've had a focus on resiliency and innovative constraint that has allowed the city to maintain our financial strength and continue to provide high quality of services that are important to our residents. Additionally, accountability and transparency are more important than ever before, and the city's commitment to these efforts is recognized through our audited financial statements in accordance with state law. As such, the city has entered into a 5-year contract with Whitley Penn for professional audit services. The contract was approved in May of 2015 by City Council after a competitive selection process in accordance with our financial management policy statements. The selection process covered the audits of fiscal year 15 through fiscal year 2019, and the process was driven by the Council's Finance and Audit Committee, as the auditor is responsible to and reports to City Council. Whitley Penn's proposal that was approved in 2015 included an anticipated fee schedule for all 5 years of the engagement period with an annual escalator. The audit will be conducted in accordance with U.S. generally accepted auditing standards, our governmental auditing standards, and the audit requirements under the uniform federal guidance, which will be for our federal awards or our single audit. Those standards and the uniform guidance both require that they plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance that the basic financial statements are free from material misstatements. An audit involves performing procedures to obtain audit evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. The audit also includes evaluating the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of estimates that are made to do the financial statements, and overall evaluating the presentation of the financial statements. The procedures will also include tests of documentary evidence that supports the transactions that are reported in the accounts, including tests of physical existence of inventories such as cash, investments, and certain other assets, and liabilities by correspondence with our creditors and financial institutions. And as part of our audit process, the auditors will also request written representations from our attorneys and from city management. Chris Bro is here representing Whitley Penn, and on May 16th, he will review the work plan for this year's audit with the Council Finance Audit Committee, including the proposed areas that we would have a detailed review for this year's audit. The audit team will be on site for 2 weeks in June, from the 10th to the 21st, where they'll be performing field work and preliminary testing. Our fiscal year ends September 30th, and then upon closure of the fiscal year, the team will be here for 3 weeks in December conducting the year-end audit procedures. The final CAFR and single audit report will then be filed with City Council at the second meeting in February. The fee for this year's audit is based on the amount of time required and the difficulty of work involved, and that is not to exceed $112,500 for the annual audit. And for a single audit, we're estimating that we will have 2 major programs, which would result in a fee of $15,500. And so our recommendation is approval of the engagement with Whitley Penn for independent audit and related services for an amount not to exceed $128,000 for fiscal year 19. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Anyone, someone from Finance and Audit with Carol?
Yes, the Finance Audit Committee reviewed all of this, and we support authorizing the execution of the engagement letter with Whitley Penn.
Would you like to make that motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Any comments? Questions? You vote at this time, please. And it's a 6-0 vote. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Item number 5B, consideration of an action on authorizing the execution of a professional services contract with Lockwood, Andrews, and Unum in the amount of $350,000 for the asset management program and risk assessment of citywide vertical construction buildings and project, NC IP 006. And we have Ms. Quinn Van Tang, Asset and Operations Manager, and Lane Wolf, Vertical Construction Manager. Quinn?
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council Member. Just want to give you a quick recap. Staff presented to you back in December 4th of 2018 a quick review of asset management program. And what today is we're going to give you a short recap of the program, following by a review of the project scope for 3 of our asset management projects, and also seeking your authorizations for approval for those 3 projects. So as the City of Sugar Land asset-based age, the focus on maintenance and existing infrastructure and careful decision-making regarding infrastructure development become increasingly necessary. The city's financial management policy statement relate directly to this effort with the following pronouncement of the maintenance and capital assets. The cities shall maintain capital assets and infrastructure at a sufficient level to protect the city's investment and to minimize future replacement and maintenance costs and to maintain asset levels. The city's adopted a citywide management, asset management policy, CA 121, to align with the city's objective. Our asset management policy clearly expresses upper management commitment to superior service, data-driven decision-making, risk-based priorities, continued improvement, and future planning. The overall citywide asset management program is a comprehensive plan for managing the city's infrastructure and resources. They established a data-based, transparent, and repeatable decision-making. It also is a synergy between asset management, our financial planning, and data-based decision-making. What makes this program successful is the proper alignment of our asset management software, our business process, and then the support from all level of staff. The program consists of 3 main principles. It provides a common and consistent approaches that utilize data and operational knowledge and results in a defensible decision between surface levels. So 3 of our main areas, principles, provides reliable service to our residents, maintaining our assets and maximizing our useful life of those assets, and right-sizing our investment to maintain our level of service. So I've mentioned the first principle is to provide a reliable service to our resident. What that means is that we focus on the outcomes and non-output. We looked at providing transparent levels of service and also providing long-term impacts to our residents. This also consists of positive and negative impacts, of course. The second principle is maintaining our assets to maximize the useful life. What this means is that we looked at risk-based decision process, looking at the likelihood that an asset will fail and the consequence that the asset will fail. We're looking at different multi-prioritization model into our financial planning, looking at optimizing our operations and maintenance, and how do we incorporate different appropriate rehabilitation, replacement, and asset disposals. And the third principle is right-sizing our investment to maintain the level of service. What this means, we look at our state of infrastructure, where we're at, utilizing the risk scores of those assets, understanding our financial needs across the entire organization, looking at cost of maintenance levels of service, and the investment in one asset can have an impact on funding availability for other critical assets, and also incorporating any future needs we have. So I'm giving you an overview of our asset management project. It consists of 6 sections. So the first one is our asset management enablers. These are you guys, your leadership, our organizational alignment. This is where the city's objective and as well as department objectives are in line with each other, and as well as knowledge transfer, knowledge management. The second section is what is the current state of our assets. This is where we ask ourselves, what assets do I own? Where are they? What condition are they in? The second is the required level of service. This is where we look at ourselves and ask ourselves, what is the demand for my service by my resident and my stakeholder? What do regulators require from us? What is my actual performance? The next section is the business risk. This is where staff looking at how do assets fail? How can they fail? What is the probability and the likelihood of these failures? What is the consequence to these failures? What assets are critical to sustain the performance? And the last one is the Unum CIP investment strategies, as well as our long-term strategies. We asked ourselves a few questions. What alternative management options exist? What are the most desirable funding strategy for the city, for our organization? So giving you an overview of the asset management project, throughout this project, staff worked to leverage the consultant expertise to review our data, whether it's as work aid data, GIS data, our sanitary sewer overflow reporting, or any available data to those assets. We also seek the consultant to perform the gap analysis, condition assessment, and develop our risk score to our assets. Staff will be working with consultant to develop the risk methodology, and also will be shadowing through all assessment to ensure that future assessments are easily repeatable. Just giving you a quick timeline of where we're at. Back in 2016, 2017, we completed our first water main asset management project. Staff finished up the lift station this past beginning of the year, and we're currently in the process of completing our wastewater treatment plant and our groundwater storage tanks projects. And tonight, Lane and Fabiola will be reviewing the project scope for the wastewater collection system, the groundwater treatment plants, and our facilities with you guys. Following that, staff will be going back to you in a future date to present to you the elevator storage tank project. And with that, I will ask for Lane to come up to the podium to present to you the scope of the risk assessment for the facilities project. And following Lane's presentation, Fabiola will be presenting on the wastewater collection system and also the groundwater plants as well.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Facilities assessment, NCIP 006. So to give you a quick overview, the city maintains 72 vertical structures. What we did was we did a sample to fit within our budget of some of the buildings. We ended up working together with facilities. We have selected 14 structures, 8 of them facilities and 6 utility plant buildings. What we'll be doing, working together with LAN, is assessing the building envelopes, going through every bit of the exterior of the building, making sure everything is weather tight and long lasting, working our way up to the roof system, checking out the overall roof system, making sure that that is in good condition, and verifying that against the warranty items and any other objects, mechanical equipment that might be on the roofs. From that point on, working inside the building, we're going to cover the 3 main categories: MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. To give you an example of the mechanical, would be similar to our air conditioning system, working outside with the chillers, the condensers, the motors, the pumps, ductwork, insulation, and everything of that nature. During this process, we're going to be utilizing city staff. We'll be shadowing LAN and their inspectors during this whole process. The most important thing here is to ensure future assessments are repeatable by staff, so that's our goal. Here's a map just showing some highlights of some of the structures that we'll be doing across the city, and a quick selection of the plants. The plants do not have their names, but the facilities do. Consultant selection. Take this time to introduce Kyle LeBlanc with LAN is here tonight. We advertised back the RFQ October 2018. We received 4 proposals. We had a team of 5 people do the evaluation and score them. Lockwood, Andrews, and Newman came in well above the others by at least 20 points. So during the process, we followed the city's policies, PU 109, for the procurement of professional services. We had a budget on this project of $350,000. LAN contract will be utilizing all of that $350,000. The schedule is 180 days from notice to proceed, and we plan on overall completion in spring 2020. And with that, I'm asking council to authorize a professional and services contract with Lockwood, Andrews, and Newman, Inc. for NCIP 006 facility condition assessment in the amount of $350,000.
Yes.
So the description, it talked about the fact that city staff, I guess, would shadow in order to then use the same methodology on other buildings, is that correct?
That's correct.
So are there, I guess, from this study versus how many other buildings would be left, what's the delta?
We have 72 structures overall,
Right.
so we're doing 14 of them right now. And that's part of how those 14 were selected, is we picked the largest and the most complicated to work on first. Once we get down to the other buildings, you start getting smaller in size and a little easier in scope.
But then would there be any ongoing need for those 14 that we're studying now?
Yes, we will continue to do these updates on a yearly basis.
But without the consultant, though, we would
That's
then be able to
correct.
do it in-house, right?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Carol.
Thank you. I know that the professional services are selected based on the point system and not the bid, but what sort of a spread was it in the price between the low bid and the high bid?
20 points. We had two people that were below 70, so they were automatically disqualified, and the first and second place had a 20-point spread.
And what about the dollar amount difference?
You can't. Professional services, you can't.
Never mind. Okay.
Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. Lane, does the scope of work include process help for scaling this process? As you say, from the largest to the smallest, we would have to scale the process. Are they going to provide the ability to scale this evaluation process? So if they wanted to do City Hall versus a small park building?
That's why City Hall was the first building to be selected. And then we go to City Annex, police and courts. We're doing our largest facilities as part of this contract.
Let me do a better job asking my question.
Okay.
As a deliverable, they're going to deliver a process in effect and train our folks on how to use it, and we're going to do that on very large buildings and structures. So, looking at the list, is their process going to give us advice on how to scale this process for smaller buildings, or we have to figure that out ourselves?
No, it is scalable. We can simply just break down. There won't be as many categories once we get into all the components of the building, so it'd just be much fewer categories to have to deal with.
So that scaling is if you don't have an AC system, then you don't check it, but there's no
That's
other
correct.
advice? Okay.
We would still have the structure of the building. Say if it was a concession stand, there might be a window unit or some electricity that's feeding the unit. We would still be looking at that, the outside structure and the roof and those things.
Okay. The deliverable that we're buying, is it their IP, or this is just a best practice in the industry for this evaluation? Intellectual property. Is it their intellectual property, and do we have to pay to use it after the initial consultation?
I think Ben can probably do an overall better explanation on how we've set this whole project up for all of them.
Yes, sir. So we will not be using any proprietary software. Anything that we're using is something that staff can utilize and expand overall. An example will be using from something Excel or Access database and then going onto a SQL Server database. So these are something that we can mimic over time.
Okay, so for this amount of money, we get the process and the training on the process, and there's no more expense to use the process or upgrade the process?
Yes,
or it's
sir.
not licensed to us or anything?
No, sir. These are all software in-house that we can utilize, and we're not using anything that are proprietary where we have to pay for additional licenses or anything.
So the process is software?
No, it's a
We're buying
combination.
software with this?
It's a combination of multiple things. So we have the risk methodology, which we have to factor in and looking into different assets. And they're also coming up with a financial model that's going to be building into these assets to come up with our CIP projects, for instance. How do we come up with a 5 years plan? What are the long-term strategy plans is like? But in the end goal, these are softwares that we're going to be using in-house. Staff can come back and put together different software, for instance, one for facilities versus one for wastewater collection system. I'll combine them into one robust program.
Is there any maintenance required for this software? Or is there a contract related to this?
These are Excel and Access database, so there are no maintenance. However, if we ever try to upgrade them with any software, Microsoft, for instance, you will have to update the software over time because, eventually datas and stuff are obsolete at a certain time. But no, at this time, we don't have to pay for any maintenance.
What's the current cost? I know we wouldn't upgrade it right after we got it, but what's the ballpark, the maintenance or an upgrade cost?
At this time, I can't give you a number on that.
Okay, thank you.
Motion approved.
Second. Mayor, my screen doesn't work on this side.
Why don't we just do a hand vote? Those in favor, right hand. And it passes 6-0. Thank you, Quinn. Item number 5C, consideration of an action on authorizing the execution of professional services contract with Freeze and Nichols in the amount of $400,000 for the wastewater collection system assessment project. And we have Gwen Van Tang and Fabiola de Carvalho. Fabiola?
Yeah, good evening.
I didn't get that right, did I?
That's all right. I understand.
Well, okay.
Close enough. So good evening. I have two projects related to asset management for your consideration tonight. The first one is the wastewater collection system assessment. And this project represents our continuing in efforts and commitment with our asset management plans for the city's utilities. This asset management plan will include establishing a risk methodology, and that means us going through and determining the level of services, likelihood and consequence of failure, useful life, and etc. The scope of this project will include approximately 50 miles of sewer lines, approximately 50 miles of force mains, approximately 15,400 manholes. This project will include deliverables that are the risk and the financial model, and the visualizations will be displayed in a Microsoft project called Power BI, and the projects will be mapped in ArcGIS. So in accordance with City's policy PU 109, procurement of professional services, we advertised requests for qualifications in October 2018. We received 4 proposals. We interviewed 2 engineering firms, and we selected Freeze and Nichols. And tonight we have a representative here, Spendana Tamuri. Our available budget is $400,000 from FY19 Public Works operational budget. Freeze and Nichols fee matches that. Our schedule for completion is within 14 months from the notice to proceed. So we estimate completion to be about in July 2020. With that, I ask you to authorize the professional services contract with Freeze and Nichols for NCIP 007 wastewater collection system assessment in the amount of $400,000. And I can take any questions you may have at this time.
Questions? Got a motion by Gandhi, second. Motion by Gandhi, second by me. You'll vote at this time, please. Carol, if you get it. Where is it? Are you in? And it's a 6-0 vote. There you go. Item number 5D, consideration of an action on authorizing the execution of professional services contract with KPMG LLP in the amount of $369,963 for the groundwater plants assessment project. And we have Ms. Fabiola de Carvalho. Did I get it right? Yep. There we go. I knew I'd get it. Fabiola, go ahead.
So this is the groundwater plans, and like the other asset management plans, the first thing we do, we establish the risk methodology, again, going through the level of services, the likelihood and consequence of failure, useful life, and et cetera. This project scope includes the 12 groundwater plants and the 23 wells that the city owns and maintains. All will be assessed. The deliverables also include the risk and financial model. Again, the visualization of the results of this project will be done in Power BI, and the project mapping will be done in ArcGIS. In accordance with City's policy PU 109, procurement of professional services, we advertised for the request for qualifications in October 2018. We received 4 proposals. We interviewed 3 firms, and we selected KPMG, and we have a representative with us here tonight, John Patrick O'Hare. Our available budget is $369,963 from FY19 Public Works operational budget. KPMG fees matches that. Our schedule for completion is within 8 months from the notice to proceed. We estimate the project completion to be in January 2020. With that, I ask you to authorize the professional services contract with KPMG for NCIP 009 groundwater plant assessment in the amount of $369,963. And I can take any questions you may have.
Motion to approve. I've got, you take a second, Bridget, I've got the motion. Got a motion, we've got a second. If you vote at this time, please. And it's a 6-0 vote. Yes, sir.
As the staff is moving in and out here, is there did somebody see animals walking 2 by 2 down the street
let me
in Town Square?
Let me give everybody an update.
Thank you.
There have been a number of fires in the city. There's street flooding right now. Some of it's severe. So what you're seeing is staff, manning the stations to accommodate that. Alan,
Mr. Mayor, we've opened the EOC. There seems to be a significant amount of flooding in the Greatwood area and houses that have caught fire from lightning strikes. 90A is closed. So quite a bit of flooding and Doug Brinkley has just left to go to the EOC. So the activity has been trying to keep up with what's going on, deciding to open the EOC, and the crowd's getting smaller because people are going to work.
Yep.
Mayor, can I suggest that maybe we look at the remaining items and see what we can table and see if we can continue them on to the next agenda item so everyone can get back home with their families?
Yeah.
Well, you can take a back road if you need to.
Why don't we take a brief recess and people can call home, kind of get an assessment, and then I'm not sure we can get out.
Yes.
So let's take a brief recess, call home, make sure everybody's okay. Let's do 15 minutes. Let's be back here at 7 o'clock, and that lets everybody Everybody, where's Jennifer Lane? She's what? Okay.
Oh, yeah, she was concerned about her car in the lot. So.
Oh, yeah. We're going to go ahead and reconvene, and we're going to move to item number 6, ordinances and resolutions. 6A, consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land Resolution number 1914. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, adopting the City of Sugar Land investment policy in accordance with Public Funds Investment Act. We have Jennifer Brown, our Director of Finance. Jennifer.
Thank you, Mayor. For this item and the next one, I actually have one presentation because they're so similar. They're just two separate resolutions that you'll need to act on. This all, the city prides itself on our strong financial management and our stewardship of public funds. And so, as such, we have adopted an investment policy to ensure that the city's financial assets are guided by strong protections and subject to minimal risk. Overall, our policies and practices such as this one have earned the city national recognition by professional associations and rating agencies. And I do have noted here, at your next meeting, we will have a resolution to approve our authorized broker-dealers. We will be reviewing those with the Finance Audit Committee at their next meeting. But this evening, we have the investment policy and strategy.
And we do this every year, I think, don't we?
We do this every year, yes. And so the city's investments are governed by the Public Funds Investment Act, which is Chapter 2256 of the Texas Government Code. And I referenced the Texas Government Code there. And so this applies really to any entity that invests public funds, cities, counties, school districts, any other political subdivisions. And the state code sets the minimum that must be followed by entities that invest the public funds. And so it requires that we have a written investment policy and that the investment policy emphasize safety and of the principal and liquidity, and it must address investment diversification, yield, and maturity, and as well as the quality and capability of investment management. The Public Funds Investment Act requires that we review and adopt the investment policy annually, and that any changes to the policy or strategy be tracked in the document that is adopted. There are no changes to either document this year. The city's policy is more restrictive than state law. For example, the state law identifies all allowable investment types. However, the city's policy only identifies investments that we believe are suitable for the city's portfolio. For example, the Public Funds Investment Act allows for the city to invest in commercial paper. However, up to this point, city leaders have felt that commercial paper is not an appropriate or prudent investment for the city, given the risks and the additional yield that you would gain by investing in that commercial paper is not worth the risk of having an unsecured investment. The policy also addresses our stated objectives, training requirements, and how we select broker-dealers with a maximum stated maturity of 3 years and a maximum weighted average maturity of 18 months. And then we do our investment reports on a monthly basis versus the minimum quarterly basis required under the state law. The investment strategy is also required under the Act, and it has to be a separate document from the investment policy. And we have literally not changed our investment strategy in years. It has remained the same. There are 6 key points that are outlined here, and those address the suitability, safety of principal, liquidity, marketability, and diversification and yield, and those are in the order of importance for our investment objectives. There are no changes pending in the current legislative session that would affect anything that has to do with our investment policy or strategy, and so we are not recommending any changes to either document this year. We did review this with the Finance Audit Committee at their April 18th meeting, and since there were no changes, the committee recommended that we go ahead and bring those forward to the City Council for adoption, and then we'll be reviewing the broker-dealers with them at their next meeting. And so we will have two resolutions for you to vote on. Resolution 1914 adopts the investment policy, and 1916 adopts the investment strategy. And I think we want to take questions on the investment policy first.
That's correct.
Correctly, right.
Can we get a report out from Finance and Audit?
Sure, Mayor. As Jennifer said, we are erring on the side of risk management in our choice of investment vehicles. We're all in compliance with state law. There really is no change from what we'd approved in the past, and so we recommended bringing it forward.
Okay. And we have our financial management policy statements that give us a very rigid control document that keeps all of us kind of in reviewing very conservative practices, which is, I think, why we've been as successful as we have with our system of government. I'll have a motion approved by Councilmember Young. Do I have a second? I got a second by Councilmember McCutcheon. You'll vote at this time, please. And we've got a 5-0 vote. Thank you, Jennifer. Item number B, 6B, consideration and action on City of Sugar Land Resolution 1916, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, adopting the City of Sugar Land investment strategy in accordance with the Public Funds Investment Act. Again, it was Jennifer Brown. She just gave that presentation. Those are those 6 criteria that she said hadn't changed in a while. I'll take a motion.
Make a motion.
Got a motion by Councilmember
Second.
Second by Councilmember Porter. If you vote at this time, please. And it's a 5-0 vote. Item number 7, Municipal Utility District Bonds, 7A, consideration of and action on authorizing the issuance of Fort Bend County Municipal Utility District number 139 unlimited tax refunding bonds, Series 2019, in the amount of $4,780,000. Our own Jennifer Brown, Director of Finance.
There we go. Okay, thank you, Mayor. All right, so there are currently 6 municipal utility districts within the city limits, 4 in Telfair, 1 in Lake Point, and Bernie Road Mud on the north end of town. The city provides a rebate to each district equal to 50% of the city's property taxes that are paid within each district, which the districts use to lower their tax rate. Bonds issued by each district are not a debt of the city, and the city has no obligation on the bonds. However, the city reviews the bond issues for districts within the city limits and extraterritorial jurisdiction to protect taxpayers and ensure that the district is issuing debt responsibly. This particular mud is an in-city mud, and while it's in the city has no obligation on the debt. As required under the city's policy on creation, dissolution, and operation of a special purpose district within the city of Sugar Land or its extraterritorial jurisdiction, the district is requesting approval of the issuance of $4,780,000 of unlimited tax refunding bonds, Series 2019. Christine Crotwell from Masterson Advisors is here representing the district through the storm. The district was created in 2005, and this district is one of the 4 in Telfair. It encompasses 327 acres. It is primarily a commercial district, while there is 267 lots on 118 acres within the district. The majority is commercial and makes up the area that we commonly refer to as the Church 4 Plaza area, where Smart Financial Center, Texas Instruments, and the future Floor campus will be. And you can see that graphically here with the across the left to the top center is US 59, University Boulevard, running north to south, and you can see the festival site and Brazos River Park here in the lower left corner. The district has certified value for 2018 of $257.56 million, and their preliminary roll for 2019 is $267.1 million. They have a 41-cent tax rate for 2018. And they currently have 3 issues outstanding that have $13.045 million in principal. And this issue would refund $4.435 million of that 2012 series. The district is not exchanging the overall maturity structure or extending the debt, which is compliant with the city guidelines. And the estimated present value savings as of last week was around 4.3% of net present values. The district had a BBB+ rating from Standard & Poor's and has received the rating from Moody's, and it was a BAA rating for this issue. And as I said, it doesn't extend the maturity structure. This goes through 2037. And the district does plan to sell the bonds later this month, and they must obtain the city's consent before issuing any bonds for refunding purposes. Staff has reviewed the proposed issue, and it is compliant with our policy, and we do recommend approval. And with that, I can take any questions.
Questions? These are refunding issues. So, questions for anybody? I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We've got a motion. We've got a second. If you'll vote at this time, please. And it's a 5-0 vote. Item number 8, appointments. 8A, consideration of and action on one appointment to the Parks Advisory Board to fill a vacancy for a term expiring September the 30th of 2019. This is an appointment to fill the unexpired term of one Stuart Jacobson, who is now going to be sworn in as a council member in a week. So this will fill his term, complete his term, which ends September the 30th of 2019. We had, I thought, what was a very fair process. People applied. Several were selected for interviews. The interviews were pretty much unanimous. And I would make a motion that we appoint Ms. Kelsey Lowe to fill the unexpired term of Stuart Jacobson, which will end September the 30th of 2019.
Second.
I've got a motion. I've got a second by Councilmember Young. If you'll vote at this time, please. And we have a 5-0 vote. Thank you all. Item number 9, City Council City Manager reports. 9A, council member reports. And Bridget, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, I do not have a report other than I would like to congratulate Council Member McCutcheon and Council Member Porter, and also our new soon-to-be Council Member Stuart Jacobson for winning their elections and continuing to serve our great city.
Ramesh.
No report.
Carol.
Let's see, attended opening night at the Skeeters, also attended the Greatwood Spring Fling and the city's International Cultural Festival, and I read the proclamation at the BAPS Charities Walk Green 2019, and that's an event that's going on all across the country, and it's going to help plant tens of thousands of trees. So that was really exciting to be a part of that. About 1,600 people participated in the walk, and the walk started right here in Town Square. Also, ended that same evening, also back in Town Square at the prayer vigil for Sri Lanka, and also attended a First Colony HOA meeting.
And you ran for re-election.
Yeah.
Steve.
Yes, we did run for re-election, and we're glad it's done. Ganaway Lake Estates annual HOA meeting, thanks to Captain Allen and Chief Booker for their attendance. Hosted a group of our valuable city volunteers at the Smart Financial Center. Our city is the proud recipient of thousands of hours every year of volunteer service, which really makes our city go, and so we very much appreciate them. Coming up, Regis Lakes HOA annual meeting, and that'll be enough for this report.
Thanks, Steve. I guess the only thing I'd share is we have a runoff election coming up. That date will be June the 6th, I believe. June the 8th. June the 8th, and then early voting starts.
Early voting will start May 28th and end June 4th.
Okay.
And it will be District 2 runoff.
District 2 runoff, and that will be between Nabila Mansour and Nashed Kermali.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think we'll stop with that tonight. Motion to adjourn. Yeah, I'm